Remember when Hayley Williams' relationship with Chad Gilbert was plagued with rumors that it was founded on infidelity, and they denied it for years, but then Hayley wrote an album about it? I do. But first, we must go back in time to 2006. Lauren and Heidi were still friends. Paris Hilton released Stars Are Blind. Shakira's hips didn't lie. And 26-year-old Chad Gilbert from New Found Glory started dating one of the members of Isley, 22-year-old Sherry Dupree. They were young, they were in love. She was posting him all over the gram. Then they were engaged. They were building a house in her hometown, Tyler, Texas. She called him Bear. They got custom tiles made for the kitchen backsplash, and I remember it all because I was watching it unfold with my very eyes. Chad and Sherry got married on February 17, 2007, and moved into their big, beautiful new home. New Found Glory released Coming Home that same year, which featured vocals from Sherry. Now, their big fancy house had this big fancy practice space, and they invited over a little band that was on the precipice of stardom. Their name? Paramore. Sherry even posted photos to the gram of the adorable 18-year-old Hayley Williams and Paramore in her new house. Then, only a few months into the marriage, rumors started swirling around the scene that Chad had been stepping out on Sherry. And the girl he'd been stepping out with? Hayley Williams. And it seemed like there was some validity to the rumors when Sherry and Chad announced they were splitting up only a few months into their marriage. But as the rumors swirled through the message boards, Chad vehemently denied his philandering ways, despite the fact that Sherry's own family were letting people know that Chad hadn't just cheated on Sherry, he'd done it in their marital bed. To add insult to injury, Chad and Hayley stepped up publicly as a couple mere months after his marriage ended in December of 2007. But Sherry also moved on and started dating lead singer of Say Anything, Max Bemis. Max and Sherry were married in April of 2009. And you think that would be it. It was done, settled, fine, but some people are their own worst enemy and can't get out of their own way, and thus Chad started his own side project. He released a song called Thinking About Her, which had the lyrics, I keep thinking about her, I keep thinking about how she hated everything about me and how she ruined everything in my life. Among other choice observations that were obviously about his ex-wife, Sherry. Needless to say, Max was livid and he took to the internet with his thoughts, twitting, "Today I heard the worst new music I've ever heard since Vanilla Ice attempted to make rock music. Don't quit your day job, dude." He took the twit down, but then wrote a lengthy letter about how he lashed out because he thought they were all happy in their respective relationships, and then Chad released a song calling Sherry a bitch. And Max wasn't the only one that was like, what? The site that Chad was releasing his music on had a little message board that was chock full of messages from NFG fans calling out this odd behavior. And how do I know this, despite the website being wiped from the internet? Well, I may have also written a little note on Chad's website for him simply saying, people in glass houses. And you know what that man did? He emailed me. That man sent me a multi-paragraph email where he did a whole lot of judging while telling me I shouldn't judge him, and then signed it, God bless. I think he doth protest too much. I do sometimes wonder how many people from that message board he emailed directly, though. And I know people are going to ask for receipts, and I'd show you it, but unfortunately, I don't have access to my Canada.com email anymore, so sorry. Anyway, Sherry and Max went on to have their first fetal collab in 2013, and they at least moved on from the whole situation. Meanwhile, Hayley and Chad were still going strong. They'd moved in together, and Hayley even appeared on NFG's Vicious Love. You'd think at that point that they would have realized that they were just cursing their relationship. Then in 2014, after 6 years together, Hayley and Chad were engaged to be married. He also released that side project album, but didn't include Thinking About Her. He did include, though, Ain't Been Happy With Me, with lyrics like, you had the sweetest blue eyes and the biggest smile, my heart was yours to steal, but as time went on, light turned to dark, and all wasn't what it seemed, 'cause every time I tried to speak my mind, true colors are what I'd see. See, this is why having a journal is important. And while Hayley was publicly announcing how psyched she was that they were getting hitched, behind the scenes she would put the engagement on hold, uncertain if she was still into him and if getting married was the right choice. But marry him she did, eventually, on February 20th, 2016. That's right, only 3 days after what would have been his 9th wedding anniversary with Sherry. Not weird at all. Hayley and Chad got married at the Franklin Theater in Nashville. Hayley wore a Vera Wang gown, and even Entertainment Tonight covered their nuptials. Now, unlike his first marriage, Chad and Hayley did make it to a year, but not much further than that, announcing in July of 2017 that they were splitting up. Hayley knew the relationship was unhealthy, but had tried to fix it, repeatedly. The divorce took its toll, though, and Hayley lost an inordinate amount of weight. The skinny divorcee. And just when we thought we'd live the rest of our days with Chad and Hayley pretending that an affair never transpired, Miss Williams decided to bless us with her first solo album, and on that album was a little song called Dead Horse. And it had lyrics like, held my breath for a decade, dyed my hair blue to match my lips, cool of me to try, pretty cool I'm still alive. And I got what I deserved. I was the other woman first. Not to mention, oh, I stayed with you too long, skipping like a record, I sang along to your shitty little song, which felt like a harken back to Chad's song about Sherry. I'd be driving and I'd play my favorite song. She would mock me when I'd try and sing along. Not in a fun sort of flirty sort of way, more of a disgusted sort of bitchy sort of way. While doing press for the album, Hayley spoke openly about the affair, telling Rolling Stone, "In Dead Horse, I admit to having an affair. That's how I got into my longest relationship. I felt ashamed for all of my 20s about it, but being able to admit it made it less scary. It didn't own me anymore. It gives people a chance to actually know me and decide if they like me or not." She also performed songs from the album on NPR's Tiny Desk, and when she got to Dead Horse, she alluded to Chad stepping out on her too by ad-libbing at the end, "Well, you effed around with everyone in town." Hayley also opened up about how After Laughter was the record that brought everything to the surface and made all of the pain, unhappiness, and clinical depression bubble to the top. A realization that came while writing Pool, with lyrics like, "As if the first cut wasn't deep enough, I dove in again, 'cause I'm not giving up." And, "Happy second chance, I think I could forgive, this time you won't leave me sinking." She explained the song saying that, "I was like, this is going to be a love song. I'm going to prove to everyone that this is marriage and I'm in love. I had been hurt a lot. You can't do the same thing over and over and over again and expect a different result." And in case anyone's wondering, that is actually the definition of insanity. Repeating the same thing over again, expecting a different result. She said of her relationship that, "I needed this relationship to work so badly. I just knew that when I was headed into marriage that not only was I making a terrible decision for me, but I was also making a terrible decision for my partner." Now, personally, I'm proud of Hayley for showing that much growth and vulnerability. From Misery Business to Dead Horse is quite the character arc. Unfortunately, though, when a relationship starts out the way that hers did, a lot of people stick around for longer than they should. They don't want all the pain that they caused and endured to not be worth anything. They feel like they have something to prove. But she got out and she owned it, which the other half of the equation still hasn't. And while Sherry has more than moved on, I mean, she has a whole cavalcade of children with Max, I'm sure that it offered her a bit of vindication too. The community was not kind to her around the time of the affair, often accusing her of trying to be Hayley, and that had to sting since it was Hayley who was sleeping in Sherry's bed. Hayley ended up dating her Paramore bandmate, Taylor York, but we'll dig into that in another video. And Chad started dating Lisa Cimarelli in early 2018. Apparently, he doesn't like to be alone with his own thoughts for too long. They got married in 2020 and have one fetal collab. And because I know that someone is going to be like, "Chad is sick, this isn't fair." I know that Chad is sick, but being sick doesn't absolve anyone from being a sucky person who does sucky things. Even while promoting Dead Horse, Hayley had to tread carefully so she didn't get a phone call from her ex. And let's not forget those final lyrics in Thinking About Her. "Yeah, I'm proud of me, proud of where I've been, proud of leaving you. Yeah, I'd do it all again." And at any point he could have said, "Relationships are tough, but I'm sorry I went about it the way I did." That would have probably solved a lot of this, but he never would because he did the exact same thing to Hayley. And if you're wondering what the moral of the story is on this one, cheating isn't leaving, and you lose them how you find them. That's for sure. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you liked this one. If you did, please save it and share with your friends. It really does help spread the good word of the cult. And don't forget to follow me on the gram, the tube of the U, especially if you're below the 49th, because who knows what's going to happen. Good day, and may the cult be with you.